If you're anything like me, you probably scroll on Instagram Reels every morning half asleep. I remember one particular morning when I was scrolling and I found something deeply disturbing. The noises this ginger man was making scarred me forever. I'll never be able to forget this awful screeching, this horrible sound. Here, listen for yourself, if you dare.
Between that, I was off for some tonic, vodka and lime and a pack of the chronic. Bring that to a beat. Shit is bubonic.
Okay guys, today I'm covering the disturbing Instagram iceberg. You guys love these social media ones, so I'm doing more. There's some fucked up shit on here on every social media platform really. So yeah, be sure to subscribe and like the video. Look at this chart, most y'all aren't subscribed. Hate to be that YouTuber, but come on, it's free and it helps us both. And straight into the iceberg now. Live leak style videos on Instagram. Instagram is widely known as a polished and curated platform filled with influencers, brand promotions, and carefully crafted aesthetics. But beneath the surface, an unsettling reality lurks. Live leak style videos have found a home on Instagram, slipping past moderation and existing in a space not meant for such raw, unfiltered content. For those unfamiliar, Live Leak was an infamous website notorious for hosting real-life graphic content, including war footage, violent crimes, and horrific accidents. Unlike mainstream social media platforms that sanitize their content, Live Leak embraced the dark underbelly of reality. It was kind of known for you go there and you see stuff that other platforms wouldn't show. It was a place where people could stumble upon uncensored real-world horror, sometimes without even looking for it. But now, that same kind of content is making its way onto Instagram, a platform where most people wouldn't expect to encounter it. Through loopholes in the moderation system, violent and disturbing videos, the kind that would have only once existed on fringe sites, are being uploaded and left unchecked. This includes videos of real-life deaths, fatal accidents, and even war clips hiding in plain sight among ordinary posts. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but I keep seeing videos that are like, car crash almost kills people, or guy almost dies in a gunfight or whatever, and it's just actual deaths, and that's how they get around the algorithm or whatever, the takedown policy. And then with that, what makes this even more disturbing is the lack of immediate takedown measures. Instagram, owned by Meta, has strict community guidelines prohibiting explicit violence, but the moderation system appears to be flawed or slow, allowing horrific videos to circulate before action is taken. Unlike traditional platforms designed for shock content, Instagram isn't structured to warn users about what they're about to see, meaning unsuspecting people can stumble upon deeply traumatic footage without any prior knowledge. This also raises questions about how this kind of content even spreads. Some users intentionally seek out these videos, sharing them in private groups or within niche underground communities. Others exploit loopholes using coded hashtags, private accounts, or seemingly innocent thumbnails to evade detection. What starts as a few shocking uploads can quickly spiral into a hidden network of violent content, which, some of these videos have like millions of views. It's actually insane. And then more than just being unsettling, this whole situation also poses serious risks to mental health, as accidental exposure to violent imagery could literally have lasting psychological effects, especially on younger users who may not have sought out that content but ended up seeing it anyway. And with that, if you guys want to see some opposite of disturbing but actually awesome content on Instagram, follow me. It's mostly just pictures of me, but go follow. I do a bunch of fun stuff in my story, so if you want to engage with me and talk to me, follow my Instagram or join my Discord server. I talk in there quite a bit, and it's a great community. Where is everybody? Alexander Nealon is a content creator known for his Instagram account Where Is Everybody, which appeared during the COVID-19 lockdown. At first glance, it looks like a normal photography page featuring empty landscapes and cityscapes. But as you read the captions, things get weird. Nealon writes as if he's the last person on Earth trapped in a post-apocalyptic world overrun by mysterious creatures called them. He describes how they took over the planet and how he travels from city to city searching for other survivors. His videos reinforce this eerie narrative. He posts footage of completely deserted streets and places that should normally be packed with people. In one clip, he pours salt on the sidewalk to keep them out. In another, he speeds down a muddy road with the caption, "They are everywhere." One particularly unsettling post shows him waking up in an empty room with a bowl of rice left in the doorway and a chair positioned facing his sleeping area, as if something had been watching him all night. The comments all play along, wishing him luck and hoping he stays safe. Whether it's a well-done ARG or just eerie photography with a creative spin, whereas everybody is pretty engaging. Mugre Kuin? I don't know how to say it. Mugre Kun. One of the strangest Instagram accounts I came across was Mugre Kun, which leans heavily into that PS1 style horror aesthetic. If you've ever played one of those low poly horror games where everything looks just a little too janky to feel safe, you'll get the vibe this account is going for. At first, the posts seem pretty harmless. The first video is this muted color character standing there staring at the screen, then it loops into a weird animation where another character just starts petting its head and its face turns bright red like it's embarrassed. Creepy, but nothing too insane. Then the account starts getting way weirder. There's a video where a character plays with a Ouija board and casually summons the devil like it's just a normal Tuesday afternoon, but I mean it's anime, so. Another post shows the same character sitting on a skeleton's lap, completely unbothered. It's got that weird uncanny feel where it's not straight up horror, but there is something off about it. Then we get to the My Little Pony horror edits. This is where the account really starts to take a turn. The first one features a pony with its face completely mangled, blood dripping from where its mouth used to be, and one eye popped out and bloodshot. The next one is even worse. Now the yellow pony is impaled on spikes coming out of the ground, and it looks like some kind of infection is spreading through its body. If that wasn't bad enough, another video shows one of the ponies trying to escape, but half of its body is just gone. Ribs exposed, one leg basically torn off. The final post in that series shows what's left of it, brain leaking out of his head, limbs just falling apart. It looks like whatever that liquid was from the other video is literally eating it alive. After this, the account kinda shifts gears. The rest of the posts mostly focus on anime-style characters, but still in that PS1 horror aesthetic. Some of them are just memes, like a Death Note joke, but others still have that unsettling, almost cursed feeling to them. One of the most well-known videos from this account shows Curly, this strange, smiling, human-like figure, sitting across from the viewer at a table. The caption says, "Date with Curly," and then Curly asks in the video, "Do you like cake?" But immediately after, he shows what looks like a glass of bleach instead. Or like a thing of bleach, I guess. The way Curly talks and presents himself is uncomfortably off, like someone who's trying to act normal but just slightly misses the mark, which makes it way creepier. The way he asks the question is almost childlike, like he's genuinely expecting an answer, but then the unsettling twist happens when he offers something that's obviously not cake. It creates this uncanny valley effect where something is trying to mimic normal human behavior but completely fails, making it way more disturbing. What makes this stand out is that Curly isn't presented as a straight up horror figure. There's almost something endearing about him, but at the same time, you definitely wouldn't want to be in a room alone with him. Some people joke that they'd accept the cake just to see what happens, while others say that Curly gives off the energy of someone who would absolutely not take no for an answer. It's weird, funny, and creepy all at the same time. The rest of the account keeps up this bizarre tone with Curly being put into different scenarios, many of them leaning into dark humor and surreal horror. The mix of innocence and disturbing undertones is what makes this account so unique, and why people can't seem to look away from it. Cassandra Clem. Cassandra Clem was a social experiment disguised as an interactive horror account. The character Cassandra was created by a team of a writer, actor, and director who wanted to explore the toxic relationship between influencers and their followers. At first, Cassandra appeared to be a struggling influencer documenting her mental health journey. She wrote long, relatable captions about how fame was affecting her, ending each post with motivational quotes, and she used the hashtag #NeverAlone, which became a recurring theme. But then things got weird. Her posts became increasingly unsettling, her captions stopped making sense, and some were filled with random numbers and symbols. Her selfies turned eerie, showing her dressed entirely in white from her clothes to her hair, almost looking ghostly. In her final post, she sat in a stream wearing a white dress and a flower crown with the caption "Transcendence." The account directed followers to a cryptic website before going silent. The creators later explained that the experiment was meant to show how people react to influencers online. They noticed how followers spiraled into obsessive conspiracy theories, proving how easily the internet can create false realities. Like, I could be like an Islamic extremist for all you guys know, I guess. Holidays and happily ever afters. At first glance, holidays and happily ever afters looks like your typical travel influencer page. A couple documenting their adventures, sharing vibrant landscapes and carefully framed aesthetic portraits. But unlike most travel pages, this one took a horrifying turn. The account belonged to two travel enthusiasts who spent their time exploring different parts of the world and sharing their experiences with their followers. But in October 2018, their journey ended in tragedy. During a trip to Yosemite National Park, the couple fell nearly 800 feet from a scenic lodge known as Taft Point, a spot notorious for having no railings or safety measures. What makes this even more chilling is a post that one of them made right before her death. She uploaded a photo of herself sitting on the edge of the Grand Canyon, captioning it, "Is our life worth one photo?" At the time, the caption seemed to be just like a simple reflection on the risks of taking photos in these beautiful places, you know. But after the accident, it read more like a haunting premonition. Even now, their Instagram account remains active, like a frozen digital diary of their final adventures, making it one of the eeriest accounts still viewable online. And that's the end of layer 1, guys. Let's get into layer 2 now. The unknown. Some horrors come from deliberate scares, blood, monsters, eerie atmospheres. But sometimes horror emerges from something that was never meant to be scary in the first place. This is exactly what happened with The Unknown, a bizarre and unsettling character that shouldn't exist at all, yet somehow ended up in the real world. This strange entity was born from a failed AI-generated script for a Willy Wonka live experience, a cheap bootleg attraction meant to cash in on the character's popularity. Unlike the official Willy Wonka experience, this version was hastily put together, featuring a woman in a green wig who looked like she wanted to be anywhere else, a set that resembled a dingy storage room, and an overall sense that something was horribly off. But what made this experience truly terrifying was the accidental introduction of an entirely new character, one that was never part of the original Willy Wonka story. The AI-generated script somehow invented a villain named The Unknown, a shadowy figure that was supposed to lurk within the factory despite having no ties to the actual book, movie, or any other version of the story. The most disturbing part was that nobody knows why or how this character was created. The idea of an AI conjuring up a mysterious, malevolent figure that had no reason to exist is unsettling in itself. It's as if something slipped through the cracks of reality, a horror character generated not by human creativity but by the unpredictable chaos of machine learning. What makes The Unknown even scarier is how unintentionally creepy its presence became. In various depictions, this character hides behind mirrors, whispering ominous messages to those who come too close. While The Unknown was meant to be just another part of a commercial attraction, the way it was accidentally inserted into reality gives it an eerie urban legend quality, almost like a ghost that forced its way into existence. Had the Willy Wonka experience not been a scam, The Unknown could have become a terrifying new children's horror icon, akin to Slender Man or The Backrooms, but instead it remains an anomaly, a horror story that wasn't created but simply appeared, and that's what makes it truly unsettling. Lily Jean. The unspoken rule of the internet is simple: don't believe everything you see online. And if there's anyone who embodies that rule, it's Lily Jean. At first glance, Lily Jean seems like a completely normal beauty influencer. She has the makeup tutorials, the carefully curated selfies, and a verified-looking 1.1 million followers. But when you start scrolling, something feels off. For someone with over 1 million followers, she has almost no engagement. Her likes, comments, and shares are suspiciously low, and when she does get comments, they feel robotic, almost as if they were written by bots. And, turns out they actually were. Lily Jean and her mother had been buying fake followers and engagement, trying to fabricate an empire of online fame. But the deception didn't stop there. They allegedly went as far as creating magazine features and photoshopping images to make it look like she was attending high-profile events like the Met Gala. They even made fake fan accounts pretending that she had a dedicated fan base. But when people started calling them out, things took a much darker turn. Instead of ignoring criticism, Lily Jean and her mother began doxing people who exposed them. They threatened critics, harassed detractors, and used legal intimidation tactics against anyone who questioned their legitimacy. What started as a simple case of internet fakery spiraled into a full-blown psychological thriller, bro. This shit's insane. Guys, I promise all my subscribers are real, guys. Natalie Portman updates. Celebrity fan pages are nothing new. Almost every A-lister has dozens of fan accounts dedicated to them. But one of the strangest and saddest was Natalie Portman updates. At first, the page looked completely normal. It was just a collection of high-quality photos of Natalie Portman posted with admiration. By the way, fucking W actress, bro. Like, god damn, have you guys seen Black Swan? Like, fuck. Anyways, what made this account different though wasn't the pictures, it was the captions. Rather than the usual admiration posts, the admin would write deeply personal, unsettling messages about their own mental health. Hidden behind Natalie Portman photos, they would talk about how their life was falling apart, how they felt drained and exhausted, and how they weren't sure if they could keep going, all while tagging it #Natalie Portman updates. It became one of the strangest micro trends on Instagram, where other accounts started doing the same thing, posting about their own suffering under the same hashtag. And one day, in 2018, the account just disappeared. No explanation, no final post, like nothing. The sudden vanishing act only made people more worried. To this day, nobody knows what actually happened to the person behind Natalie Portman updates. Did they move on? Did they spiral further? Or does some worse shit happen? The Coffin Confessor. The Coffin Confessor is an Australian man named Bill Edgar who runs an Instagram account dedicated to one very unusual job: delivering messages from the dead. People hire Edgar before they die, giving him instructions to show up at their funeral and expose their secrets. His job isn't to be polite, he's paid to cause chaos and make sure the deceased gets the last word. His Instagram looks like the mix of a business page and dark humor. He posts random images with cryptic captions, job updates, and even morbid details about his work. Some clients use his services for sentimental final messages, but most hire him to reveal affairs, hidden bank accounts, secret enemies, or unfinished grudges, sometimes in pretty brutal ways. Naturally, he's been kicked out of funerals, threatened, and even attacked multiple times, but as far as he's concerned, he's just fulfilling the last wishes of the dead. I know who you are accounts. The worst parts of the internet are often hiding in plain sight. I know who you are accounts on Instagram are the perfect example of that. These accounts are run by anonymous users who claim to be hackers. They bait people into interacting with them by offering to expose personal details about them, things they shouldn't have access to. So here's how it works. First, they ask their followers to complete small tasks, liking their page, sharing a post, or tagging a friend. Once the task is done, they DM the user back with eerily personal information. Things like their name, birthday, school, or even their love interest. And the scariest part is that most people have no idea how they got this information. Some claim it's all a gimmick, just people guessing based on the data presented or available on public social media profiles, but others aren't so sure. But to be fair, I have seen a lot of those, using those like pages where it's like people like finding people's crushes and DMing them, or like finding cheaters and shit, and like fucking going full on detective mode on Instagram, like finding, oh, this girl's cheating, I'm gonna DM her man. People are kind of fucking crazy with it. Anyway, since most adults aren't naive enough to fall for it, the primary targets end up being teenagers. Many parents have reported their kids interacting with these accounts only to panic when they receive details that are personal that they thought were private. Whether these accounts are just stupid hoaxes or something far more sinister, they do highlight just how vulnerable people can be in social media and how fucked up social media really can be, at least in some situations. And with that, we're done with layer 2 and getting into layer 3. Blood Heaven. Out of all the accounts, Blood Heaven is one of the most disturbing visually. Unlike the other ones that focus on surreal or existential horror, this one is straight up body horror. The images are all highly stylized, artistic renderings of grotesque scenes, but even though they aren't real photos, they still manage to feel unsettling. The post that first caught my attention from this account is just a still image of 3 corpses hanging upside down by their ankles, like butchered meat. Their faces are completely distorted, almost to the point where they don't even look human anymore. The caption is simple, it just says heaven. That word heaven actually shows up in almost every post on this account, almost like a signature. In one image, the word is tattooed on the foreheads of 2 people staring directly at the camera. In another, a person is being pierced through the chest with a blade, and the caption just reads heaven. It's hard to tell, I don't know if it's meant to be ironic or if there's some deeper meaning behind it, but either way, it makes the whole account feel even more eerie. The art style itself is somewhere between surrealism and religious imagery, with a lot of references to angels, ascension, and sacrifice, but twisted into something much darker. There's also an unsettling text post that just says, "What's missing? Why are you here? Stop living through your phone, it's your turn to talk." It's one of those things that feels uncomfortably direct, like it's actually talking to you specifically. This account leans more into shock value and disturbing imagery, but the way it ties in these weird religious themes makes it stand out from just being typical gore art. Christian Montenegro. Christian Montenegro is one of the most bizarre Instagram personalities you'll ever come across. Not because of any of his crazy behavior, but because he married a ragdoll and documents his entire life with her on social media. At first, Montenegro was just a lonely guy. After experiencing heartbreak, he turned to dolls for companionship, but eventually he met Natalia, a human-sized ragdoll he handcrafted himself. The two quote-unquote fell in love and he married her. Now his Instagram is dedicated to their life together, filled with videos and photos of their quote family, including the multiple ragdoll children he also created. And his posts really aren't jokes. He writes about Natalia as if she's a real person, sharing updates on their marriage, their illnesses, and even her trips to the hospital. At one point, he even called paramedics in a panic when Natalia, quote, fell unconscious. Some believe it's all an elaborate stunt, an art project or a troll account designed to go viral. But others think Montenegro is completely serious and his Instagram is just a glimpse into his isolated, deeply concerning reality. But even if it's a joke or if it's serious, it's still disturbing and weird, man. La Zona Inquante. If you ever find yourself scrolling late at night, lost in a mind-numbing loop of reels, you might just come across La Zona Inquante, an account that seems designed with only one goal in mind: to haunt you. There's something about the way this account operates that makes it feel cursed. It doesn't follow the typical aesthetic of horror pages that curate creepy images or urban legend. Instead, La Zona Inquietante is pure nightmare fuel, a chaotic collection of horrifying clips that feel ripped straight from the deep web. The content is unpredictable, sometimes eerie, sometimes violent, and sometimes just flat out, wrong, bro. If you're unlucky enough to have one of its posts randomly pop up in your feed at 3 a.m., I can guarantee you're not getting any sleep that night. One of the most unsettling videos on the account is deceptively simple. It features a clown, pretty standard horror fare, right? Except there's something deeply off about this one. The image appears to be an old, grainy photo of a clown just standing there, but it's been fed through an AI program to give it lifelike animations. You know that feeling where you see something almost human but not quite? The uncanny valley effect kicks in, making your brain scream that something is seriously wrong. That's exactly what happens in this video. The clown's movements feel unnatural, like it's trying too hard to mimic human expressions, but failing in the most terrifying way possible. The caption is "Te gustan los payasos," which is Spanish for "Do you like clowns?" And nah bro, I don't. I'll Also, sorry to any Spanish-speaking viewers out there if I butchered that pronunciation. I tried to do my best. Another infamous post on La Zona Inquietante claims to be footage of a paranormal event. According to the caption, the clip was first filmed back in 2019, and supposedly the phenomenon is still happening to this day. That's what it says. The video itself is grainy, dark, and disorienting. It shows what looks like an unknown entity lurking inside someone's home. The camera quality is poor, which only adds to the eerie atmosphere, because if this was staged, wouldn't they want the audience to see the creature clearly? The ambiguity makes it scarier. But let's be real here. If you had a genuine supernatural entity terrorizing you for 5 years straight, wouldn't you do something about it? Like call a priest or move out or burn the whole fucking house down? The fact that they're still documenting it rather than running for their lives makes me pretty skeptical. Still, real or fake, the real or fake? Do you guys know that meme on Instagram? Real or fake? Anyway, real or fake, the video is still terrifying enough to make you check over your shoulder for the rest of the night. If there's one thing that really sets La Zona Inquietante apart, it's how unapologetically disturbing its content can get. Case in point, here's a horrific video featuring a man in what appears to be a hospital bed. At first, nothing seems too out of the ordinary, but then the man starts coughing, and with each cough, his stomach begins to inflate, grotesquely and unnaturally, like something is growling inside of him. Now, I don't think this video is real, obviously, but even knowing that is still sickening to watch. The way his stomach bulges as if something is about to burst out of him is enough to make even the most seasoned horror fans feel uneasy. For the sake of YouTube's content guidelines, and honestly my own sanity watching this, the original video had to be heavily blurred, and trust me, that was probably for the best. Now here's where things get weird. For all of its disturbing content, like horror content, La Zona Inquietante also has this strange habit of throwing in completely random posts. Like 1 second you're looking at horrifying body horror imagery, and then the next you're watching a casual Minecraft clip. Why? I have no clue. Maybe it's meant to lull you into a false sense of security before slapping you with something horrifying again. Maybe it's just the account owner having fun. Either way, it's jarring. And then out of nowhere, there's a conspiracy post about the Illuminati, and then a weirdly inappropriate post involving Mama Coco from the movie Coco. I didn't even bother clicking on that one because I value my mental well-being, but let's just say it was distasteful enough that I regret even seeing the thumbnail. I don't know, I might put it blurred on screen, I don't know. If this account had some semblance of a theme before, at this point it's completely thrown out the window. It's like a fever dream, and every time you scroll, you have no idea what you're about to see. If you keep going deeper into La Zona Inquietante, things just get more grotesque. At one point, the account starts posting extreme body horror. We're talking like the bottom of a person's foot being peeled off, exposing raw flesh. Like, still, I don't get how that's on Instagram. Other images are even worse, to the point that I have no clue how they could have passed Instagram's content guidelines. Like, no clue at all. At this point, it's clear. La Zona Inquietante is less of a horror page and more of a museum of internet madness. It's as if someone took the most disturbing parts of the internet and just dumped them all onto one Instagram account. Sabrina Miller 230. Sabrina Miller 230 is an Instagram account that belongs to, well, supposedly an alien in a human form. If that sounds ridiculous, it's because it is, but somehow this account manages to make it deeply unsettling rather than outright comedic. The premise is pretty simple. Sabrina is an extraterrestrial creature struggling to assimilate into human society while battling her uncontrollable urge to eat people. Relatable, bro. A normal day for her involves resisting the temptation to devour her coworkers, dealing with the bizarre complexities of human emotions, and, of course, running for the President of the United States. At first glance, it's obviously an ARG, but the execution is so uncanny and fever dreamish that even people who know it's fake find themselves disturbed by it. Her pictures range from mundane snapshots of everyday life to horrifically distorted selfies where her face looks not quite human, almost like a lifeless doll that's trying to mimic expressions but failing miserably. And then there's the lore. The more you read, the worse it gets. Sabrina casually discusses the joys of human flesh, her struggles with empathy, and the bizarre ways she tries to fit in. It's written in a half-joking, half-serious tone, which somehow makes it all the more disturbing. And of course there are the comments. Hundreds of people playing along, pretending they're fellow aliens, sympathizing with Sabrina's hunger, making inside jokes about consuming inferior humans. But then there are also the people who are genuinely unsettled, like me, bro. People who stumbled upon this account with no context and now find themselves scrolling at 3 a.m., their stomachs twisting with unease. Because even if it is fake, it's still like, I don't want to look at this shit, bro. And now I'm making you look at it. L, get pranked. Oh my god, dude. I'm not funny. Happiness every day. At first glance, Happiness Every Day looks like a normal meme account full of lighthearted posts designed for quick dopamine hits. But when you actually watch the videos until the end, you realize that there's something off, something more going on here. Each video starts normally, maybe with a funny meme or a motivational quote, but then suddenly it glitches into something dark and cryptic. One video starts with two men fighting, then suddenly cuts to a message saying, "I see you." Another reel, seemingly about relationships, abruptly transitions into stalker-like messages saying shit like, "No one cares about you as much as I do." The screen distorts, showing blurry hallways and eerie red and black imagery. The account stories follow the same creepy pattern, with the owner posting bizarre questions and receiving equally bizarre responses from followers. Strangely, the followers seem completely in on whatever this is. Maybe I just don't get it. No one knows if Happiness Every Day is just some kind of viral marketing experiment or an ARG or an inside joke that people aren't meant to understand, but I don't know, there are 135,000 followers, so I don't fucking know. And then we have Julio Fulio. There are tragic Instagram accounts, and then there are ones that make you feel like you're watching a ghost continue to post from the afterlife. The account of Julio Fulio is one of those. Julio Fulio, real name Charles Jones, was a rapper from Jacksonville with a deep involvement in gang activity. He wasn't just another artist trying to make it big, he was living the life he rapped about, and that life was deadly. Fulio had a massive online following, over 1 million Instagram followers, and a reputation that made him both respected and feared. He openly posted about gang feuds, threats, and his own past encounters with violence. But his last post was the most chilling of all. On his 26th birthday, Fulio did something that seems almost suicidal in hindsight. He doxed himself. He posted his location. Within minutes, he was ambushed and shot. The CCTV footage captured everything. The sudden ambush, the chaos, the fatal shots. But the eeriest part was that it wasn't the last time Fulio spoke. A week later, after his confirmed death, his Instagram account posted an interview clip. A clip where he boldly claimed, "I'm a demigod, I'll never die." He laughed, talking about how he couldn't be taken down, how he'd be here forever. It was posted posthumously, as if to taunt the people who took his life. Some fans believed he was still alive, playing a twisted game with his enemies. Others felt it was a horrific mockery, like a final punch in the gut after an already devastating loss. And then there's the account itself. For a pretty long time after he died, his Instagram still remained pretty active. New posts, new promotions, managed by someone in his team, but still unsettling nonetheless. It's weird. And with that, we are done with layer 3. And now we're getting into layer 4. Starting with Jolie Callan. Some Instagram accounts are horrific because of what they become after death. Jolie Callan's is different. It's horrific because it documented her own murderer's final moments with her. Jolie was a young woman from Alabama, recently graduated, full of life, but she had one major problem. Her ex-boyfriend, Lauren Bunner, refused to let her go. He was controlling, obsessive, and unable to accept that she had moved on. When she finally broke up with him, he lost his mind. He begged, manipulated, and threatened, even saying he'd take his own life if she didn't come back. But Jolie stood strong. And that's when Lauren hatched a plan. He invited her on one last hiking trip, pretending that he wanted to bury the past and stay friends. Jolie, being the great and kind person she was, agreed. She thought it would bring closure, but instead it brought her death. The most horrifying part was that Lauren documented the entire day on Instagram. He posted smiling pictures of Jolie standing at the edge of the cliff, enjoying the view, holding his dog. It seemed wholesome at first, but in hindsight, the captions were deeply disturbing. His second to last picture was Jolie standing at the cliff's edge, oblivious to what was coming, and his final picture was Jolie facing away from him, taking a photo of the landscape. Moments after that last post, Lauren pulled out a gun, shot her multiple times, and pushed her body off the cliff. And then, as if nothing had happened, he called 911 and turned himself in. This story is so sad and haunting, especially for the precedent that it sets, because, you know, whenever someone threatens to kill themselves if you leave them or whatever, like, the good thing to do is what she did. Like, I feel like this story could really scare a lot of people into, you know, still wanting to stay with someone they shouldn't stay with out of fear. Like, this is just so fucked up. One of the worst situations I've ever seen. This is just awful. Ecology Homestones. At first glance, Ecology Homestones sounds like it could be a quirky interior design brand, but in reality, it's one of the strangest, most surreal ARGs on Instagram and TikTok. The account revolves around a bizarre narrative featuring Robert, a strange, fleshy creature made from what was once one of 8 carrot farmers who were hunted down. According to the lore, a gnome named Cheapsteak hunted these farmers, leaving them horribly mutilated, but somehow still alive. The video follows Robert, a grotesque hand-like piece of meat with an oddly expressive personality. As the story unfolds, more of Robert clones appear, each with their own twisted backstory. The posts feature eerie, surreal visuals paired with unsettling sound design, deep, distorted voices, unnerving ambient noise, and abstract horror elements that make everything feel like a fever dream. The creators of Ecology Homestones insist that their work is part of a musical band, blending art, music, and horror into one unsettling experience. They use their posts to engage every sense. You can't watch their videos without sound, and you can't listen without the visuals. It's actually pretty cool, honestly. It reminds me of that one, what's that one like YouTube video that I covered in that YouTube Iceberg? Like Pete the Meat Puppet? Is that what it was called? Yeah, that shit. It reminds me of that shit, bro. Lovely Peaches. There are people who do disturbing things on Instagram, and then there's Lovely Peaches who makes every other unhinged person on the internet look pretty sane in comparison. Her real name is Brittany Johnson, but she's better known as the internet's biggest walking horror show. From the outside, her Instagram looks normal, like a wannabe indie musician trying to make it big. But if you've been on the internet for long enough, you know exactly who she is. This is a woman who claimed to have sold her own daughter, a woman who live-streamed animal abuse, literally spraying perfume into her dog's eyes and admitting to killing it. A woman who built her entire internet persona on shock, depravity, and outright sadism. Her accounts have been banned repeatedly, yet she always comes back. No matter how many times Instagram wipes her existence, some new account pops up, either run by her or someone impersonating her for clout. She was actually arrested for animal abuse, but it wasn't enough to stop her completely. Pretty crazy. Perpetual Angst. Perpetual Angst is an Instagram account that is a mix of weird core, dreamcore, and surreal horror. So, you know, this is right up my alley if you've been a fan of the Poi channel for like a year or so. I used to do weird core, dreamcore content back in the day. And the posts on Perpetual Angst all focus on themes of self-doubt, identity loss, and isolation. Unlike other horror-themed accounts that rely on gore or disturbing imagery, this one taps into something a little more psychological, the kind of horror that comes from within. One of the standout posts features a dark silhouette of a person sitting with their head down, arms resting on their knees, with a caption that reads, "The day I was bended in pain, begging you not to leave me." There's something about the simplicity of it that makes it unsettling. It's not an outright scary image, but it carries this weirdly hopeless feeling, like a vague memory of something you've experienced, but can't fully remember. Another post takes it further, showing a character staring into the void while the text reads, "Why can't you save me if I'm you?" The whole thing plays out like a thought loop, almost as if it's trying to make the viewer question their own existence. And honestly, that kind of is what makes it effective. It doesn't tell you what to be afraid of, it just plants the thoughts in your head and lets your brain do the rest. And then the aesthetic of the entire account is just really, like, pretty, I guess. It's very weird core, you know, if you're into this shit, then you're gonna be into this. Like, some of these images like this one, I'm looking at one right now called, or it says, "You're doing great, sweetie, just don't let them find you." This is like quintessential weird core. This is almost, to me, kind of like a evolution of weird core that I'm seeing, because it has that 2000s aesthetic with a little bit more modern nostalgia, but it has that same uncanny image, or uncanny effect, I mean. Like this one, this says, "Are you winning, son?" Which is a pretty modern meme, I mean, from what I remember, but then it has this weird core effect to it. And then there's a lot, you know, still classic weird core, like this one that I absolutely love, that says "wrong location." And then some of these I feel like gotta be like reposts, like not original. Like I feel like I've seen so many of these weird core images before. Like scroll through this account, you know, sorry, I'm ranting about this one. I fucking love weird core. If you want to hear more weird core content and shit, be sure to check out my weird core videos. I have quite a few anyways. And let me know in the comments if you want more weird core content. I would love to do more, but I just feel like, you know, there's not people who would want to watch it. But let me know if you would. I might do one. Anyways, sorry, that's enough of my rant. Next up we have Jade is in Town. Jade is in Town is an LA-based ARG that started as a strange but harmless Instagram page before spiraling into something deeply unsettling. The account is run by Jade, an artist who initially used it to post her paintings. She explained that her work was inspired by a bad breakup, and her followers watched as she documented her attempts to heal through art. But as time went on, her posts became increasingly unhinged. Jade frequently took photos of herself in her attic, where she claimed to find leftover supplies from her ex-girlfriend Robin. She began using Robin's paints to create her own artwork, but something about the paintings didn't sit right with her followers. They felt wrong. Then her posts took a turn for the terrifying. Jade started uploading videos of herself crying, begging for help, and behaving as though something was possessing her. In these clips, her eyes would glow white, her expressions would twist into unnatural smiles, and her laughter became hollow and demented. It was all part of the ARG, but the execution was so disturbingly real that many people believed she was genuinely experiencing something scary, even if it's just in her own mind. Even after the story reached its conclusion, her Instagram page remained, leaving behind a record of what looked like someone completely losing their mind in real time. And yup guys, you guessed it, that's the end of Layer 4. We're getting into Layer 5 now. Acacia Kersey. Most Instagram accounts on this list are immediately unsettling, but Acacia Kersey's page was the opposite. It seemed too perfect. She was the textbook definition of an influencer, with soft pastels, aesthetic photos, relationship posts, and motherhood updates. But as time went on, cracks began to show. Acacia first gained popularity on Tumblr before transitioning to Instagram and YouTube, where she built an audience through her carefully curated online persona. But despite her polished appearance, followers began to notice deeply disturbing patterns in her content. She faced serious accusations of neglect regarding both her children and her pets. Most of the concern was directed towards her younger daughter, who had a medical condition requiring constant care. People accused Acacia of putting her children in unsafe situations and prioritizing content over their well-being, which is sad, you know. The accusations extended to her pets as well. She would frequently adopt animals only for them to mysteriously disappear with no explanation. Dude, this girl is a villain. The most infamous case involved her cat Cotton, which she and her husband left alone with food and water for several days while they went on a trip. But when they returned, they found that the cat's food had been completely infested with ants, implying that Cotton had gone without proper nourishment the entire time. I mean, I don't know, it could have been like, it's not really her fault, exactly, like she couldn't have known, but still, like maybe show a little bit more care for your fucking animal. Anyway, over the years, people repeatedly called Acacia out, but instead of addressing the backlash, she simply stopped posting about the things people criticized her for. Eventually, she stepped away from social media, attempting to rebrand her life online. But no matter how much she wanted and tried to move on, the internet never forgot. The next account is called scatten.gfx, and it honestly gives off a completely different type of horror. It doesn't really rely on gore or monsters, but instead on this overwhelming feeling that reality itself is breaking apart. The posts on this account have a very specific energy, one that makes you feel like you've stumbled onto something that you really weren't supposed to see. The first thing you'll notice about scatten.gfx is the visual style. A lot of the posts feature glitchy, distorted faces, eerie static-covered figures, and warped text that looks like it came from a corrupted file. But the real horror comes from the messages hidden inside these posts. One video on the account features the phrase "hear me out" followed by "do you feel it?" over and over. The background is this rapid flashing loop of people screaming in agony, like they're trying to say something, but you can't quite understand what. There's this hypnotic quality to it, like if you stared at it for too long, you'd start to feel whatever they're feeling. And honestly, that's the kind of thing that sticks with you. Another post simply states, "nothing feels real anymore," and the caption underneath is, "you're in too deep, touch some reality." That one got to me because the way it's presented is almost like the post itself is like becoming aware of what it's doing to your mind. Like a self-aware brainwashing machine or some shit. Like it's watching you scroll through and now is actively warning you that you're slipping into this fucked up world. And then there's the post that straight up tells you to wake up. It starts with a message that reads, "Hello, are you still there? I want to show you something." It's followed by this haunting sequence of text here that says, "They wanted everything, but they have nothing. Do not lose yourself chasing what was never real. Stay strong, stay awake." Like, what does it even mean, bro? Is it talking to you? Is it talking to itself? Or is it telling something else to wake up? The whole thing just makes you feel so, like, uneasy. Like it's tapping into something way bigger than just a horror aesthetic. And then there's the post that really sent me over the edge. A variation of that "man you see in your dreams" meme, except this time is captioned "nowhere feels safe." This also gives a little bit of a weird core vibe to me, which, I don't know, if you've been around for a while, you'll know the meme on my channel that like I say everything reminds me of weird core, and I might be doing that again. But I don't know, it gives me that same like unsettling, nostalgic energy, like how like you're in a different reality. The eyes in the image stare directly at you. It's like it's trying to push its way into your subconscious and to make itself a permanent part of your mind. And I swear, the longer you look at this shit, the worse it gets. The whole account feels very metaphorical in a way. It's less about traditional horror and more about the idea that your own mind can betray you. You know, another weird core idea. A weird core concept. A lot of these posts don't show you gores or monster, they just plant this creeping thought in your head that maybe everything you know is fake. That's what makes scatten.gfx stand out. It's kind of like deeply psychological and pretty good at it. Instagram confession accounts. Confession accounts started as a fun, anonymous trend. Places where people could confess their feelings, secrets, or crushes without fear of judgment. We listen and we don't judge. But like most things on the internet, it didn't take long for them to spiral into something much far darker. These accounts became hotspots for cyberbullying, harassment, and even criminal confessions. Because of the anonymity, there was no way to verify anything. Someone could post a confession claiming they had done something horrible, and there would be no way to know if it was real or just a disturbing joke. In school settings, these accounts became especially dangerous, leading to rumors that ruined reputations and led to even like real-life consequences. Some of the most disturbing posts included like detailed descriptions of violent acts that may or may not have actually happened, threats against specific people, leaving followers unsure if they should take them seriously, and false accusations designed to turn entire schools or communities against individuals. The anonymity that made these accounts seem fun at first became their biggest problem. People could say literally fucking anything and no one could stop them. What started as a lighthearted social media trend ended up as a breeding ground for cybercrime, defamation, and serious mental harm. Sunshine Academy. At first, Sunshine Academy looks like a parody account, one of those weird internet cults that exist just for the sake of being unsettling. But the deeper you go, the less certain you become. The account presents itself as a fake online school promising to create the perfect students. Unlike real online academies, Sunshine Academy has no academic backing. Instead, it has an elaborate fictional lore that feels somewhere between a satirical joke and a full-fledged cult recruitment page. According to the Academy, their students, or quote-unquote students, undergo a transformation process involving exposure to nuclear radiation, which supposedly enhances their intelligence and turns them into something called hybrids, beings that look like animals but are considered the ultimate form of human evolution. The videos on their Instagram and YouTube channels are bizarre AI-generated fever dreams, featuring distorted voices and cryptic dialogue that seem deliberately designed to make viewers uncomfortable. The comment section is just as unsettling. People play along, claiming that the Academy has already turned them into hybrids and asking about how they can enroll. The strangest part is that no one knows if this shit is like an elaborate joke, an ARG, or I don't know. I mean, it's not real, obviously, but it's just kind of weird. Like, there's no like real story behind it. And we did it, guys! We did it! We did the Instagram iceberg! Whoop, whoop. Let me know if you enjoyed this one. This one might be longer than the other ones. It might be like 50 minutes. I think the Snapchat one's like 40 minutes. So yeah, subscribe, guys. You know, obviously, if you want more content, it helps us both out. I love you guys. Thank you for watching. Have an amazing night, genuinely, and sweet dreams.